Very happy to answer to your question, to discuss about the partnership between France and India, which is in a definitely exceptional, momentum. So we have entered in the 27 years of this strategic partnership. We celebrated the 25th anniversary 2 years ago when Prime Minister Modi ji went to Paris. Was our guest of honor. Yeah. On this occasion, we adopted a new roadmap. Interesting part of it is now we have at least one bilateral high-level meeting. So remember that last year, President Macron was the chief guest of the Republic Day. This year, Prime Minister Modi came at the beginning of the year to co-chair our AI Action Summit. Yeah. So next year, President Macron will be back also to attend the AI Impact Summit, from action to impact. So this is very good because, well, the fact that the two leaders decided to have this regular high-level meeting is the demonstration of the closeness of our relation in all sectors. So obviously in defense and security, but interesting enough, during 2023 visit, it was decided, as I said, to adopt this new roadmap. And the logic of this roadmap was to say that in our partnership we need 3 pillars. So the first pillar, obviously, as I said, is security and defense, and it's growing every day. And I would say that, of course, we have this special relation in armaments, all kind of dialogues, joint exercises. And there is, well, to some extent, a common view on many strategic issues in the Indo-Pacific. Actually, back in 2017, I was the one as DG for Asia at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to write the blueprint of our Indo-Pacific strategy. And we clearly already had in mind the fact that India was the priority in this broad framework. So first pillar, security and defense, which is growing day by day. Second pillar is what we call the partnership for the planet, saying that to face all those big issues, global challenges, climate change, protection of biodiversity, global health, obviously India is a major stakeholder, already a global stakeholders, and we need to engage more with India. As a matter of fact, I was just yesterday attending, co-chairing the 8th General Assembly of the International Solar Alliance, as you know, which was created, co-founded by France and India back in 2015. Actually, this year we celebrate the 10th year of the Paris Agreement and of the ISA. So this is a very good illustration, and France is still the co-chair of this organization. So this is a very good illustration of what we like to do with India in this second pillar, the partnership for the planet. And the third pillar, I tend to consider for me as ambassador here, is the biggest challenge, and it's clearly a top priority, is people-to-people exchange. I like to say that the future of the relation between our two countries lies in the relation between our civil societies. For instance, it was decided by our president back in 2023 that we have to attract more Indian students. At the moment, we only have about 10,000, so we have announced an intention to triple this figure by 2030. So interesting enough. So why don't we have enough Indian students at the moment? I think there are basically 2 reasons. First, the Indian diaspora in France is rather small when you compare it to other countries, obviously to the UK. And when you are an Indian student, you usually prefer to go to a country where you already have relatives, friends, etc. And the second is that we speak French. So, but by the way, for instance, when you see our business schools, which are now regularly on the top 5 of the Financial Times ranking, the first foreign students cohort is coming from India. So this is quite interesting. So in order to attract those students in other universities and schools, we have created specific, vehicles specifically designed for India to attract them, to come our country, to learn the language. So we also have schools like, I don't know if you heard about the Political Institute, in Paris, which is very popular among Indians because it's a really high-end institution and attracting lots of students from India. So, but once again, working definitely with civil societies, developing university-to-university interaction, having more students, developing scientific cooperation is a key. And this is the reason why our two leaders actually last year decided to launch a new concept. So 2026 will be the year of innovation, France-India year of innovation. So the idea is to introduce a new mantra, so to speak, in the bilateral relation, not only to speak about the same thing. When we talk about innovation, it's not only technological, industrial, economic innovation, which is, by the way, essential. For instance, next year we will create a joint Indian-French platform for innovation. The idea will be to bring together on a digital platform all the innovative ecosystem for the two countries. But we think also about cultural innovation, social innovation. So throughout the year, we'll organize many events, both actually in France and India, and take many initiatives. Let's say that our main objective will be to reach out to a new public, and especially to the youth. So once again, we are in a very good momentum, exceptional relation, all sectors. So very happy to be in India and to be here with you.
I think the most privileged diplomatic position in New Delhi is to be the French ambassador. Because French, besides other things, French cultural footprint is so large and there is so much respect, and really had no problem with France and vice versa.
There is a very high level of trust between our two countries. Of course, you have other friends, many friends. You have actually 35 strategic partners.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is quite a lot.
But France was the first strategic partner.
Absolutely. And it's funny because you remember that, but Jacques Chirac at that time,
1976,
Prime Minister,
yes.
Prime Minister of France, not yet our president, came to India at a very special moment.
Republic Day, yes. Because Mrs. Gandhi wanted some Western leader to come during the emergency. So he came, and later he came as president as well.
And he came as president. As a matter of fact, I think France has been invited six times so far, yes, to be the guest of honor of Republic Day, which is, we are at the top of the list, which is good. No, we have to tell that France has always been on the side of India during difficult times. This was definitely the case in the 90s during the nuclear test. You have to remember at that time, the West was criticizing India, and
Sanctions.
One country not only didn't took sanctions, but supported India. And to some extent, it was the base of a new development of the momentum of relation between our two countries. Recently, and after the crisis in Pahalgam, I think our stand has been very clear. And as a matter of fact, few days after, we sent a parliamentary delegation. I think we were the only country to do that. So no, yes, there is a strong level of trust. Well, it doesn't mean we agree on everything, and we can discuss about this, but this is exactly what it means to be friends. There is no subject we are not able to talk about behind doors. And this level of trust is really the fact that you just described. And being French ambassador in India is quite comfortable.
So in French politics now, is this view of India bipartisan, multi-partisan? Because French politics is now getting to be almost as exciting as Indian politics.
Yes, it's also the case for us. Yes, I think I wouldn't say this probably if I was ambassador in a different country. I wouldn't name any country. But being ambassador of France in India, I can tell you that, well, in this overall context of volatility, versatility of geopolitical context, and as you said, sometimes some upheavals on politics, both sides. I mean, French-India relationship is an island of stability, okay? And yes, it's a bipartisan view. I mean, I don't know who will be the next president, French president after 2027, because as you know, we'll have election at that moment. But what I can tell you for sure, there is a consensus in France about the fact that India is the most trusted partner in this part of the world, and it will remain like that. So there is no uncertainty, no doubt about this.
And what are the areas where we might have arguments today?
I wouldn't call them arguments, but different approaches. Well,
yes.
Let's say one of the most obvious is the war in Ukraine. We perfectly respect the position of India, because we know about your partnership with Russia, and actually it's not up to us to interfere and to make any comment about the relation between India and Russia. But sometimes, I mean, I think that we need to go back to the facts. You know, this so-called military operation, which was supposed to be something very short, now we are about to enter in the fourth year, beginning of next year of the war, which is definitely a war of aggression, because Russia has violated all international rules by invading a neighbor, is conducting there a brutal war. I hear something, the Russian ambassador laughing about children being killed, but this is a fact. I mean, during the last 4 years, you have had thousands of innocent civil people being killed, massacred, women raped, children taken from their countries. So this is unacceptable. So once again, India said what has to be said about the war. And remember, Prime Minister once said that it's not time to have the war. But because of this special relation, we have a different perspective. But once again, when we talk about the war in Ukraine with India, we prefer to focus especially on the kind of leverage India can have on Russia because of this special relation. Because at the end, even if it's not the mood of President of Russia at the moment, they will have to be around the table to negotiate. And we think that maybe India could play a role in that. So when President Macron and Prime Minister Modi discuss about this, and I can tell you every time they meet, it's on the table. This is the main focus, how India, considering its special relation with Russia, can play a role to stop the war and to play a role when diplomacy will be around.
Also, just to, because we just hosted the Russian ambassador yesterday, he countered questions about children by saying that children have been killed on the other side, that is Donbass side, in Ukrainian attacks, and he contested that so many children have been taken away, and he said the numbers they've been given, names they've been given was 119. I'm just telling you what he said.
Thank you, Ambassador, for coming to the Print and being actually on the Print's Meet the Ambassador series that we have here. Ambassador, before I come to the whole Russia-Ukraine thing, you know, in your opening remarks, you mentioned that there are three pillars to this relationship, and the first pillar that you identified was on defense and security thing. So straight away to the question that there are multiple deals or that are in the works on a government-to-government basis. What is the latest on the additional 114 Rafale fighters? Is there a discussion with the Indian government on that, and also an update on the jet engine technology, the joint development of for the AMCA engine? What's the development on that front? Where is it headed at?
Well, I will not elaborate on the detail of discussion. What I can tell you is that, as I said, armament has always been an important part of our discussions. We already made 2 deals on the Rafales, and we are ready to enter into a new deal. As a matter of fact, I want to specify something. When we compare our approach to this of other stakeholders in these sectors, our industry is totally in the mood of a Make in India, because we know it's very important for the Indian side. So, it's the case of Dassault Aviation. So at some point, we know that in the upcoming discussion, this will be on the table. And I can tell you that we are very eager, not only to sell Rafale, but to build Rafale in India. So this, of course, has to be discussed, but it's part of a deal. AMCA, so you have seen everybody, you have seen everything which has been out of the press. The Indian side is obviously very positive for Safran to be part of a deal. So there are discussions ongoing. So we'll see to some extent when and how we can make any announcement. But I can tell you that we are very eager to move forward. And once again, this pillar of our bilateral relation is very important, and we are very eager to move forward.
Ambassador, you said that there's a high degree of trust between the two countries, right? That also that there are areas where we will disagree naturally. I'd like to discuss a sticky issue, which is the Jaitapur, the nuclear power plant partnership. Basically, it's been a vision for the future for the last 15 years, since 2008 when it basically took shape. The Indian government's estimate is that by 2047, which is also when the India-France strategic partnership turns 50, about 10% of the total clean energy needs could come from this power plant. Where do you think it's stuck? Is it apprehensions over civil nuclear liability? Do you think it's just politics or just pricing? Where do you think it's stuck?
No, I wouldn't say it's stuck, but it's a very complicated dossier to deal with. Actually, we have created several, working groups to move forward, because, such a huge project. We have to deal with the price of energy. We have to deal with technology. We also have to deal now with Make in India. In order to, reduce the cost of a kilowatt, we have to integrate the fact that part of the Jaitapur will be, manufactured here in India. So we have to find the good stakeholders on the industrial side. So once again, through the years, the project have, to some extent, has, transformed itself. So, but it's still on the table. I can tell you. Just yesterday we had a technical discussion about this. So we are still working on, but it's such a huge project that it needs time. Yeah.
And it needs amendment to the law.
And it needs amendment to the law, yes.
Mr. Ambassador, you mentioned about...
Mention your name.
My name is Fariha and I cover education for ThePrint. So you mentioned about Indian students going to France, and this year there is a major uptick in the number of Indian students moving to France. But here it is being seen more as an impact of this ongoing visa issues with the United States. So how is France ensuring to keep this momentum going on next year as well and later in terms of scholarship programs, particularly in management and STEM courses for which Indian students generally go?
So, first of all, I would like to tell you that maybe we have a different approach compared to other countries. We have never tried or sought to organize any any brain drain from India to our country, saying that you come to France, you study in France, you stay in France. I tell you why. As I said, we have a strategic partnership. So far, we have 800 French companies working in this country, employing more than 500,000 Indians. Very high qualified jobs, all sectors. What we have developed is what I call the 3-stage rocket. First stage, you learn French, because as I said, I'm sorry, but we are French, we speak French in our country. So we propose through several vehicles to learn French, either here in India or in France. Second step, you go to France to study. And as a matter of fact, one of these new vehicle is what we call international classes. What are international classes? They are kind of prep school. We have created this program just last year, specifically designed for Indian students, only for Indian students. During 1 year, we take young Indian students, we send them to different universities in France. So during 1 year, they study intensive French, and at the same time, they receive methodological courses in the curriculum they want to choose. And then after 1 year, they can go to engineering, humanities, etc. And at the end, be it MBA or PhD or whatever, and we have scholarships, many scholarships, we tell them, you have to go back to your country because your country needs you, and we need you in your country. And we offer opportunities of very good jobs in our companies, French companies here. So this is our strategy. And as I said, we want those people, what I call the civil society, to be part of a strategic partnership. Because if a strategic partnership is only a G2G, relation, at the end, it doesn't work. So this is the reason why I really think that we have to involve the civil society, the youth. This is our strategy. So we are not looking to huge quantities. We are not Australia or even the UK or before. The US. We want to focus on the quality, the best students, and as I said, to provide some kind of a service after you study in France. Our companies and the embassy will support. Will provide you excellent job opportunity, and then you will contribute, help us to improve this momentum of a strategic partnership. So this is our strategy, which is slightly different from other countries.
And a lot of those jobs will be in India.
Yes. Well, in India or elsewhere. And I was very surprised when I arrived in India 2 years ago to see that in such a huge country, the French community is very small, 7,000 people. And when you look at the French companies, so I said all the big stakeholders are here, but the CEOs, they're all Indians, not French. Why? Because, you have very well-trained people, and this is exactly what I described. Now, let's take a company like Capgemini. I don't know if you know Capgemini.
Yes.
They are 250,000 people in India. So they offer position to them in India, but also in the world. So this is also, as I said, it's a different philosophy. Of course, it might be a dream for Indian students to emigrate, but I think at the end, considering the ambition of India to become a global leader, what we totally support, at the end, you need your own forces, and if we can contribute to train them and to involve them in our momentum in this strategic partnership, I think this is the good way to proceed.
Who's next?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Are the billionaires in
Rama
France
Lakshmi is our editor for opinion and ground reports.
Are the billionaires in France safe today?
I see with interest that you follow very closely the debate at the National Assembly in France. Well, I will answer this question maybe next week, because at the moment there is I mean, a discussion about a new tax. So we'll see.
Yeah, but many countries have fantasized about a wealth tax, but France is the only one where they've actually proposed it, and it's holding the government to ransom.
I tend, but it's a personal view. I mean, I tend to consider that such a tax would be really efficient if you apply it in different countries, because those people are it's very easy for them to move their asset from a country to, another. And it's the main critic, addressed to this specific tax. But we'll see. I mean, it's in debate at the moment.
I have a question. Since we are discussing taxes, there's also a debate on, putting a tax on big tech, which can then draw the ire of Trump, because he has said that if France taxes the big tech, I will put trade tariffs on that. Given the whole, the debate around wealth taxes, the instability, the political debate that is going on right now, and so much that is happening domestically, how do you think this will play out? And will the big tech eventually be taxed in France?
Well, I don't see this happening in France, actually. But you give me an opportunity to tell you something about, let's say, the consequences of a Trump approach and all the trade, what's happening on the trade sector. I think it's an opportunity for the relation not only between France and India, but also between the EU and India. I mean, not only because it creates, as I said, instability, uncertainty, and volatility, but because I have a feeling that India now understands that there is a new partner, which is EU, which can play a greater role, not only on trade, but as a matter of fact, so as you know, Industry and Commerce, Minister Mr. Goyal was in Brussels yesterday. I understand that the negotiations are moving quite good forward, and we hope it's the position of France that we can finalize FTA, hopefully by the end of the year. But I see also a great interest in this closer relation between EU and France, is that, well, I'm sure it will help India better understand, back on the Ukraine and Russia issue, our position. So, and I think it's very big and important news that we are moving forward a closer strategic relation between the EU and India. And once again, it's one consequence of what's happening with the US and President Trump approach.
Ambassador, my name's Keshav. I cover diplomacy and foreign policy here. I actually have a question on the trade negotiations as is, because we've seen multiple rounds. We've seen stories that the stickler point is, for example, automobiles, but India was able to have a deal with the UK with certain quotas on that. Agriculture is another area of concern. And then there is this deadline that, ideally before the next EU-India summit, which is supposed to be held early next year, either January or February. So where really do you see the challenges that are still existing in the remaining chapters that are being negotiated? Can you give us a sense of that? And added to that is on the Russia-Ukraine war, is that the EU 18th and 19th sanctions packages goes after Rosneft, Lukoil, as well as a refinery in India, that's Gujarat in Vadinar, run by Nayara Energy. India has maintained that, energy independence is a key sovereign pillar of its foreign policy. As a strategic partner, where have these discussions been held between India and France, for example, and India and the EU, given that these sanctions will affect India's energy independence? Thank you.
Okay, on the first question, I think it's important that substantial progress be made now, and that the necessary, concessions be made on both sides, because public opinion in France and obviously the government expect an agreement that is both balanced and ambitious. Our priorities on the French side and on the EU side are very well known. let's say that we want a meaningful, market access, the removal of non-tariff, barrier, obviously, while respecting our agricultural sensitivities. But I understand that on the Indian side, you also have agricultural sensitivities, but also strong provisions on trade and sustainable development, including taking in account, the Paris Agreement, on climate. So this is the base. But once again, in order to have a deal, we need to make concessions. So as I said, I understand. I don't have final details that the discussion between Minister Goyal yesterday in Brussels went very well. And I'm hopeful that eventually we will find a way to get a deal by the end of a year. Because as I said, as you said rightly, if and when we have a summit, we need a deal on the trade side. Well, as far as the sanction on oil and Russia is concerned, the EU sanctions are part of a broad framework, so to speak, designed to uphold international law and respond to Russia ongoing war of aggression. These measures have to insist are targeted, proportionated, and never directed against partners like India. Once again, France totally understands India's need to ensure its energy security and the stability of its domestic markets. Our objective is not to constrain India's choice, but to promote transparency and prevent circumvention of sanctions that are specifically aimed at entities enabling Russia war's efforts. So we also recognize the complexity of the situation for companies like Naraya Energy, for instance, which operates under Indian jurisdiction and play a major role in the country's refined capacity. So this is why dialogue and technical engagement remain open and constructive to avoid any misunderstanding. So once again, this is on the table. This is discussed between the EU and India, and I wouldn't say it's an issue, at least on our side.
Because we saw this morning that the German subsidiary of Rosneft has got an exemption. So Nayara is also a subsidiary of Rosneft. So what sauce for goose should be sauce for gander?
Well, I understand that more and more entities in India are, withdrawing. They from being engaged with, Rosneft. So there is some kind of a natural trend.
Right.
I just have one follow-up, if you don't mind. And this is on the FTA again, because you said it has to be mutually beneficial. But one of the issues is, when it comes to biodiversity, CBAM. Right? CBAM is a major issue, as well as the deforestation rules, which is less talked about, but as prohibitive as a non-tariff barrier, right? So where really do you see conversations on the FTA surrounding the deforestation rules, which I think are coming into effect next year or in 2027, and CBAM, because those are, unfair for developing countries whose level of technicalities and complexities of their industries may not be at the same level as European companies. So where is that discussion happening?
Once again, CBAM is not aiming specifically Indian or developing countries. It's a constraint if you consider it as a constraint for everybody, including European companies. So, but you are right to mention that this is something at the moment on the table, and we have to find a solution at the end to find a deal. I would agree that it's part of the most important item now to be negotiated. But it may be, once again, as I said, I'm not aware of the last development of a negotiation yesterday in Brussels. What I got is that I mean, the atmosphere, but not only the atmosphere, but the content of the negotiation was very positive. So we have to wait and see.
So do you think we'll get a 100% deal or 70% deal or 50% deal?
We hope for an ambitious deal. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
Diplomatic answer.
I mean,
No, but how to answer to that?
this
I
is
mean,
diplomacy with French characteristics.
There is one word I never use is the concept of, red line. Say,
Right.
we have a red line, so no, if we have a red line, we are not diplomats. Okay?
Good point,
So-
yes.
so
Yes,
we-
I think put it up somewhere.
So we have to find, a deal. But once again, India is here, Europe is here. At the end, it will be here. So we need to make concession. India also need to make concession.
So I'll say something, this is out of context, but because we're sitting in the shadow of Mr. Vajpayee,
Okay.
he once explained the Chinese negotiation style. He said, when you and I negotiate, I'll say, give me this. I'll say, no. Then you'll say, give me this. I'll say, no. It'll go on. Then finally, you'll give a little, I'll give a little, and we'll have a deal. The Chinese will never do it.
You see, all those talks about free trade agreements, I think there is something new in India. I
Yes,
don't know if
yes.
you would agree.
It's a change of mood.
Change of mood. That trade is not only necessary but useful. But it means that you have to make concessions. Obviously. Let's take another example. As I said, our companies are totally involved in the Make in India. But you also have to think that in what we call old Europe, we are also in the process of reindustrialization. We have to explain to our companies why, for a company like Dassault Aviation, going to India, it doesn't mean that we'll take our jobs out of France and go to India. So we have to find the good balance. So this is part of a deal. And once again, a Make in India is perfectly okay for us, but when you give something, India also has to give something. So this is the basic principle of a deal between friends, and partners.
And this is the basic principle of deals between any adults.
Absolutely.
Kids can snatch from each other, or big daddies can try to snatch.
Try to stand.
They try to snatch.
Ambassador, you mentioned about Russia. We'll come to the whole India-Russia relation, but one of the key aspects that has guided India-Russia's ties, led to growth, has been the defense part of it, right? Right from the early 60s to 70s, 80s, defense has been a key segment. Now, you rightly mentioned that defense is also a key segment as far as India-France is concerned. But Russia also does more for India than just selling, let's say, a tank or a fighter. Especially Russia's help in the nuclear program for India on the defense front is something which is very integral to India's defense preparedness. So in that way, is France willing to be the new Russia for India?
I wouldn't say that. France has to be the new France for India. I won't compare my country to Russia.
Not at this point.
for very obvious reasons.
In terms of cooperation, in terms of the kind
But
of
yes,
strategic
in the sense that, as I said, the challenge for us is to diversify our partnership. Well, just take the share. I'm sure you are aware of that. The share of Russia in armament deals 10 or 15 years ago, and the share now, compared to what France was 10 or 15 years ago and now. So you will have part of the answer. But once again, the key of that, it's not only armament, it's not only defense and security. This is why I say it's so important for us to involve the whole society, all components. Culture, university, students, and this is our challenge. Because, as I said, at the end, in 20 years from now, I hope that you will be able in India to manufacture yourself all the tanks and aircrafts and submarines, whatever. Does it mean that it will be the end of the partnership between France and India? Obviously not. So this is the reason why we have to work now on this diversification. And I definitely think that, well, the perspective, the future of our relation is great. And once again, back to the EU, because we have to think also with this global background. I mean, the EU, having the EU into the picture is also important, because it will bring a new perspective from the Indian eyes, if I may say.
Saurabh from the Political Bureau. Ambassador, D.K. Singh is our political editor.
Oh, great.
He is responsible for all the mistakes I make in my political writing.
Master, just wanted your personal opinion on your personal view on why French politics looks so broken at the moment. Why is political instability proving to be so elusive for France?
Well, there are two answers. The simple answer, which is the fact, is we are a democracy. We are really a full-fledged a democracy. At the end, the people decides, And during last elections, the people voted, and they elected a fragmented, assembly, no majority. Yes. Okay, so there are at least 3/3. So this is a fact. Then we don't. So in any other European countries, and this is a new fact in our system. In any other European country, they have a tradition of forming coalitions. We don't have this tradition. Because, well, our new republic, so to speak, the Fifth Republic, created back in 1958, was based on two-party. Now,
and also division of powers.
Yes, and also division of powers.
President.
Okay, so now we have a different set, so we have to adjust. Our institutions are very strong. This is no doubt about this. So let's say that we need some time to adjust to this new situation. I'm quite confident. But yes, it explains the current situation, different parties. And there is also another maybe reason. As I said, next year we'll have election, the top election. The president. So it creates a certain context, atmosphere that all the parties are not so keen to work together. But at the end, I'm sure that we'll find a way. And once again, it's the proper of vivid democracy.
Just a related question. Again, I should not be asking it from a diplomat, but just a related question. A country which gave us egalite, fraternité, and all. Why do we see this rapid rise of the far right, and which way is it heading?
It's not specific. If you see that, it's not specific to France.
Yes.
Last election in Germany, the far right party was more than 20%.
And that's worse than your far right.
If you see, my point is, France is probably the most liberal society.
Yes, but once again, I would say it's a global, movement. I don't know how you would describe, Mr. Trump. Okay, but look, even in the northern part of, Europe, look at Finland, for instance. Which party is within, the government? So it's a global movement. Let's say maybe the result of too much openness of our societies, of our, economies, but it's not specific to, to France. It happens everywhere. So we are not insulated to this evolution. We'll see what the answer at the end during elections. We'll see.
Well, once you get such sharp polarization, it becomes that much tougher for one side to get that many votes. So polarization sometimes brings its own protections.
Hello, Ambassador. My name is Prashant. With US pulling out of the
In the microphone, as Shah Rukh Khan always says, hold it like you're eating a banana.
Right. So with US pulling out of the COP summit, more or less, and it was expected that EU would take much of the responsibility. Now it's a divided house, and France has been trying to, take the lead in getting a goal. But it's basically there is no consensus, and EU is yet to submit its NDC, and we are a week away from the COP. So where is the division, and could you give us some insight into what countries like Germany or Italy are, why parties are blocking it?
Well, obviously, the US decision is it's a pity, obviously, but I'm quite confident because big stakeholders are still here, and especially India. Well, I don't know what will be the outcome of the COP30. In Belém. I noticed that it was announced by Prime Minister Modi ji that India would like to host the COP 33 in 2028. This is a very good sign because it shows that India is definitely into this momentum. So these other countries with which we want to work, I just mentioned the Solar Alliance. This is a very good example of what we have to do. And well, eventually, it might be I am rather optimistic but I think that working with those countries, India, I could also mention, China. We have this kind of relation with China because we want to engage China, and we succeeded actually to engage China on those big issues, of climate change. So I think that at the end, around the table, we still have major stakeholders who can make the difference.
Bonsoir, ambassadeur. Je suis Khadija Khan. J'étudie français pour 3 mois. But my question to you is,
You have to translate the rest for us.
She has been studying French for 3 months, and it's perfect.
So, je parle français. Parce que with all the companies migrating across the English Channel to France, do you think there are more opportunities for English-speaking people in France as of now compared to earlier?
For English people?
English-speaking. People who speak.
Working in France?
Yes.
Well, as I said, our problem is that we speak French. I'm sorry. So, if you want to immigrate to France, you have to learn French.
But there are 30,000 Indian students, the ambassador told us, in Russia. So if they can learn Russian, more can learn French as well.
Yes.
By the way, French is not only, when I used to be a young diplomat, I used to go with my ambassadors.
You are still a young diplomat.
Yeah. But I remember, for instance, when I was in China, my ambassador was always going to universities and, visiting French department. And we had a bunch of students, usually, women. I don't know why. Majorly, women are studying French. And we asked them, why do you learn French? And they answered, because it's a romantic language. I like to answer, okay, we are very pleased, but it's also a diplomatic language. It's also, we use it in trade, in sciences. So please keep on after your 3 months French, learning French. And I'm sure you are very happy to work here. But if you want a very good job opportunity in a French company in India, I will be very happy to help you.
Can you please take her away? Very happy.
Ambassador, I have 2 quick questions unrelated. One is that, what's your prediction on AUKUS? Reports say that, Trump is AUKUS.
Australia,
UK and the US basically having a partnership, and of course a diesel submarine deal between France and Australia was also cancelled as a result, $800 million deal. So what's your prediction? Because now people are saying that Trump is reviewing it. He's having second thoughts about it. People are saying that just the fact that the UK and Australia still remain excited about it may just be enough for Trump to remain on board, right? Do you think there's a way that France can shoehorn its way back? Because recently there were talks between Australia and France as well, where strategic partnership was discussed. What is your assessment of that? And the second question is that, just by philosophy, EU and India, how they're treating, because you were also speaking of AI in your opening remarks, they're treating AI completely differently. EU's approach is that basically regulate AI before it balloons. India's approach is, I mean, they've not said it in so many words, but ostensibly their approach is that you let it balloon and then you regulate it, right? So what would be your thoughts on India's approach to AI?
Okay. On the first question, well, I wouldn't make any remarks and comments about AUKUS itself. What I can tell you is France is not in favor, as we are concerned, to be part of any coalitions or security defense coalition. I mean, we have been approached in the past, but it's not the way we see our interaction locally. And as a matter of fact, when I wrote myself the blueprint, as I said, of the Indo-Pacific strategy back in 2017, I mean, our Indo-Pacific strategy is definitely an open concept. So it doesn't mean, well, for instance, President Macron clearly said that we oppose any hegemon in Asia. And when we talk about hegemon, everybody understands which country we are aiming at, but we are not in favor of any kind of security defense alliance. We prefer to engage.
You are talking about hegemony as in Indo-Pacific.
Yes, okay. Yes.
Because hegemony in the world and Indo-Pacific.
To have one country being the hegemon in the region, and we all know which country I am thinking about. Okay, so once again, we prefer to engage, and we are not so eager to be embarked in any kind of coalition, even a Quad type. If this is not the way, and basically why? Because you have to refer to the basic concept of our strategy is autonomy strategy. I mean, strategic autonomy. I mean, which was a concept invented back by General de Gaulle at the end of the 50s, beginning of the 60s, saying that it doesn't mean that we don't have partners, we don't have allies. Of course, we have allies, but at the end, we want to rely on our own capacity. And to some extent, it's what you are developing, Indians. You also have now your strategic autonomy concept. This is very important. And by the way, it's also what we are promoting at the EU level. I mean, I'm sure you know that France has been supporting for a long time the idea of European defense, which is not yet, the fact. So once again, I don't know if it answered to your question about AUKUS, but it's not the way we consider our role within the Indo-Pacific area. As far as AI is concerned, well, I see your point, but I don't see our position being so far away. Especially if you compare those two positions to, let's say, on one side, the Chinese position and the US position. Okay? And as a matter of fact, one of the reasons why we decided at the beginning of this year to invite India and Prime Minister of India to co-chair the AI Action Summit is because we find some common grounds between the Indian and French EU position. So once again, when our president will come to next AI Impact Summit, it will be also an opportunity to have some kind of consensus. It's not also a coincidence if when Prime Minister Modi went to France beginning of this year, we also finalized a bilateral roadmap on AI. So once again, our position, maybe it's a different perspective, but at the end, the same kind of approach.
Yes, Tina, that I think should be the last question because you have a reception this evening?
Yes.
Yes, for Sunil.
Yes.
Ambassador, my name is Aditya. I am an intern here. So my question is related to the AI part. So we know about a lot of excitement that is happening in USA because a lot of Indians over the last 3 years have went there to do work, or they're doing some work in India related to the ecosystem there. But you would have a better understanding. We don't see such excitement about what is happening in the French AI companies. You might have a better idea of how many people from India are going to work there and so on. You can give us a reading of the situation?
Well, as I said, we signed this agreement, this bilateral agreement in February, AI French-Indian roadmap, during the upcoming AI Impact Summit, we'll have a large delegation on AI, and I think it will be a very good opportunity for Indians to, let's say, discover AI French companies and what we propose. Well, of course, there are two big players in AI in the world, the US and China, but there are some innovative concepts and ideas coming from Europe and in that case from France, and I think it will be a very good occasion, this summit, to find ways and new stakeholders to be part of the game here.
Tina, the last question, then.
It's fine.
No, go ahead, ask. Since you had asked.
Okay, so I wanted to ask something. So, France is one of the countries, like one of the foremost countries, which signed co-production treaties with India for making films, right? Lunchbox is one of the films which became like a big hit and it became pretty renowned. Last year, of course, we have All We Imagine Is Light, which went to Cannes, won an award, and majority of the fund actually came from France. I was just wondering, and then in Delhi as well, or across, even in Pune, there are a lot of like film festival, being organized by the respective centers, cultural centers. I was wondering, is there a push to take this like somewhere else? Because all I can think of at this point is like a 2016 movie, a big production, like a Bollywood film which was shot there. But I was wondering, are there steps taken to like take this to a more commercial level? Because, you know, co-productions often end up not being screened everywhere, even in India. I remember, like, I think last year or last to last year, Garo film got released in 100 theaters in France, which became a big deal because Garo films are not like
Garos are a small tribe.
It's a small tribe from Meghalaya, so not a lot of films anyway get made in that language. So the fact that it went to France and there were 100 theaters where it got screened, I was just wondering. I get it, like you said, that the Indian diaspora is pretty small. Comparatively, but like Bollywood has always been like big in a lot of European countries. I was just wondering, are there steps taken to push this somewhere, especially with like last year's performance of All We Imagine Is Light?
Tina covers films for us.
Yes, definitely. So, I have in my team dedicated team, counselor based in Mumbai, specifically working on movie industry and finding new ways to develop cooperation between France and India. When I said that one of our top priorities to develop this kind of new interaction with society, cinema is definitely on the top of the agenda. So the answer would be yes. We have in mind, next year, as I said, will be the Year of Innovation, France-India Year of Innovation. We have in mind to organize a very big event to inaugurate, to launch this Year of Innovation. Obviously, with our two leaders, we would like it to happen in Mumbai. And I don't want to tell too much about this, but let's say that something big around the meeting between Bollywood and not only Bollywood, between Indian cinema and French cinema will be organized. So it's in the pipe. Yes, definitely we have to do more.
That's very good. So I will ask the last question,
please,
which is that defense is now a big question in Europe. And I think I'll be quite right to say that most of Europe has ignored its defense. They are now trying to catch up quickly.
They haven't ignored. They saw that the relation with the US will be always the same, and that they don't need to take care of their.
But France did not. France is the only large European country which has always focused on its defense, has kept its autonomy, and is militarily very strong by far. Even the British have become very weak militarily. They lack. So, in fact, I keep reading in British media, authentic sources, that they hardly have any artillery to spare. They will struggle to put out more than 35,000 people to fight. Just take a minute and explain to us the French philosophy behind this, and would the other European countries have done better to follow your example? Or they should be doing it now? I know they are doubling their defense budgets.
To some extent, it's very provocative, but I could say thank you, Mr. Putin.
And we have to say thank you, Mr. Trump, for many things.
No, of course, it's not the fact, but because of aggression war of Russia in Ukraine, there was a new consciousness in Europe. And once again, it's what I want to tell you here. This aggression war in Ukraine is not only about Ukraine. If we care so much, of course, it's because of the fate of our friends in Ukraine, but it's also because our own security is at stake. And not only the eastern part of, Europe, all Europe. So in the context of this aggression war, there is once again a consciousness of all the members countries in Europe that we need to do something on ourselves. And the only solution is strategic autonomy for Europe. The only solution is European defense. So it will take time, but let's take the example of Germany. What has been decided in Germany in the defense sector.
Quite remarkable.
The impressive increase of the budget and defense. Who have thought this 10 years ago? You see? So this is really a leapfrog evolution. So once again, it will take time. Also, it will take time because we are lots of countries, different approach. This is also to some extent, democracy. We don't have the same views. We have, the beauty of EU is that we often, disagree, but at the end, we found a consensus. And I'm confident that at the end, because of this war of aggression, we had the before and we'll have an after. And one of the consequences will be the stronger defense at the European level.
I think on that note, we shall let you go. Thank you very much.
Daniel, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to extend.
Candid and fully open as one would expect.
Thank you.
From the French ambassador.
Thank you.